Kill your perfectionism or it will kill you. You are listening to the Street Cred podcast, the show laser focused on helping streetwear brand owners turn their side hustle into a full-time career. I'm Elijah Delport, and today we're talking about the idea of creating from start to send. Now, what does that mean? It's very different from start to finish, because the truth is nothing is ever finished. And you would know this if you're a perfectionist like me, then you would know this is true. It can always be better, the quality can always be higher. You can always spend longer on a task to make it a little bit better. I want to start by reading a quote from this man named Dr. Samuel Ross. And he says this, he wrote this on Twitter. He said, "Just start. You need momentum. It's not about perfection early on. It's the sheer volume and intensity of commitment." I love this quote and I resonate with it deeply because I truly believe that if you're in the beginning of your content creation journey, and let's define beginning, I mean, it could be early on in years or you just haven't made that much. If you've made less than 500 videos or 500 posts, it's certainly early on. This is the time to put out volume. It's all about volume. It's quantity over quality. And this is a real struggle and mindset shift for a lot of brand owners out there. However, I believe it is the thing that is holding them back from their potential in their brand. And why is that? Well, let's zoom out for a second and think big picture. You're a clothing brand. That means you've got your clothing product, which is what you're selling, and then you have who you're selling it to. And you need both of those elements to have a business at all. All right, and that's obvious. Without a brick and mortar store, the people that you are selling to are your social media audience, likely. I can't think of another alternative to a physical brick and mortar store or social media, right? So you're an e-commerce brand. Chances are if you're listening to this podcast, and what that means is that it is vitally important, the content that you post to the world. It is. And in fact, that you post at all. It's not just a side of your business, as it is for many. It's like for many, they don't have to do social media. Like, for instance, my cousin, he's an electrician. He doesn't have to do social media because he doesn't rely on it. He has clients inside my family, inside my extended family. He has clients, his friends, and he has clients as friends of friends and just connections he knows. And that keeps him busy most of the week. So he doesn't need social media. It's just a nice to have. You, on the other hand, as a streetwear brand, social media is not just a nice to have. It is a must have. It is the lifeblood. And without it, you don't have customers. Because the truth is that your family and friends, excuse me, aren't enough to support your brand and your vision. Because if you're selling low ticket items like clothing pieces, it's all about quantity. It's a quantity game. So now we understand the importance of social media entirely. You can see how, of course it's important to post, but why is it important to value, especially in the beginning, quantity over quality? Well, I like to think of it like this. Every time you post something, it's a learning opportunity. Every time you create, it's a learning opportunity. It's a chance to get it right. I've heard people talk about the Instagram algorithm as a lottery ticket that you put in. And the more you put in, the more chance you have of going big. Now, I don't like it entirely because it suggests that the algorithm is all about chance, which is not. It's about skill. However, I do like it in that the second part of it suggests that put more lottery tickets in because they are free lottery tickets. And I think there is some truth in that. And so I just think, like, if you were to post, one time a week, you're going to be learning a lot slower than if you're posting once a day. Versus if you're posting twice a day or 3 times a day. Who has the most accelerated path to success? So I always say this. Consider, how much time do you have to spend on social media? How quick do you want to learn? And somewhere, considering those 2 points, is the sweet spot of how much content you're creating. Coming back to the topic of creating from start to send, I mentioned it earlier. It's never finished. That's the truth. It's never finished. So I like to define what finish looks like to me. And I am talking about this topic in terms of content creation because that's a big part of your business. I'm also talking about this in terms of designing clothes, right? And look, there's a businessman and podcaster and newsletter writer, blogger. His name's Seth Goden, and he shares this story on his newsletter one day about how one of his books was written. And it was a massive project of more than 200 authors from all different professions. And they had this system where they would work on a page. It would go through series and levels of editors, and then it was done, and then move on to the next one. Now, one day, one of the authors came to Seth, and he said, "Hey Seth, I know we said we were done with that page, but I just took it upon myself to just spend an extra bit of time working on it. I saw some ways we could make it better." And Seth goes back to the guy and says, "Well, why did you do that? It was done." And he says, "Well, because I could make it better." And what Seth illustrates with this story is that enough is enough. And anything more than enough is wasting time. And he uses another example that we're very much glad that the standard for planes dropping out of the sky is 0. We have a standard that no plane will drop out of the sky, and we spend billions upon billions of dollars to make that happen and make that a reality. We're also glad that we don't have the same standard for books, because a book can have a typo and still be life-changing. So we don't need to spend billions of dollars, although if we did, it would probably make it absolutely perfect. The point of all of these examples is when enough is enough, and we need to define where enough is in order to be able to move forward and create again. Because sometimes the best thing to do, more than working more or working longer on the previous task, is to go to the next one. Because little do we know, there's learnings that await us in the next task, in the next video we're going to make, in the next design. And so I think that's why it's really important, especially in the beginning, to do things with quantity, to do things with volume, to get in the reps. Because that's all it is reps, is practice. It's a training ground. And I really believe that success lies on the other side of execution. Success lies on the other side of execution. And what does that mean? Well, ideas die in planning. And so the risk of us perfectionists is that we don't actually do anything. We just think about things. And that means that as a consequence, we never reach the potential that we were supposed to reach. We never go where we were supposed to go. And that leaves us with a lot of regret, or it can. And so that's why it's important to execute, to just start, to just do. And let's make this really practical. What I do, the first 25 minutes of every single day, I write an email from start to send. Not from start to finish, but from start to send. And the reason I say 25 minutes is because I literally do that. I set a timer because I cannot spend half a day writing emails. I have client work to address. I have other content I need to create. I have resources. I have maintenance of all of my bits and pieces, right? That means that I can only spend 25 minutes. The amazing thing about it is that even if it's my worst, even if it's the worst content I create because it's only in 25 minutes, here's the truth. My worst gets better. My worst gets better. And because I do it every day, and because I'm doing it every day, and there's someone else out there who's not, right? We might have started on the same level, but they're too afraid to put something out into the world that is less than their best. Because I'm doing that, My worst is now on par with their best. That's what happens. That is the result of doing reps. Is that your worst content that you ever create becomes what is someone else's best. Because you put in the reps, you put in the volume, you put in the quantity when everyone else was too worried about making it perfect before the world sees it. I really think this is going to help someone listening to this right now. You don't have to create to the same standard as Nike. You don't have to create the same standard designs. You don't have to create the same standard content or anything. Because they've got 300 million more followers than you. And they do 1 million more units than you. So just create to a standard that's appropriate to your level. And if that's less, then take advantage of the fact that you're small and people don't expect as much of you, to use it to learn, to get the quantity in. All right. Well, that's about it for this podcast. Create something from start to send every single day is my encouragement to you, and put it out to the world, because your success lies on the other side of execution. And perfectionism, if you're not careful, will kill your potential in your streetwear brand. And I really don't want that. A couple of things, an announcement and one ad that I have to share with you. So first of all, we are 3 days into this dopamine cut challenge. I introduced this on the first episode podcast of this since I've started daily podcasting. All we're doing is no visual entertainment consumption for 30 days. And so that means that no TV, no Netflix, no streaming services, no short or long form content, except if it's educational. And that's video. So that means instead we're reading books, we are resting, exercising, we are working, we are sleeping. All these types of things that we need to be doing better. So I'm participating in this it's not a competition, but in this contest, or in this challenge, I should say. And I invite you to join in with me, because it's really going to help your life, your business, and your relationships. I really do believe this. Finally, I have something for you that's going to be super valuable. I have a community of 80 plus streetwear entrepreneurs. They are networking with each other. They are sharing their advice. They are asking questions. They are sharing the wins. You could not be in this community and not put work in, because it motivates you so much being around people like this. So I encourage you and invite you to join. It's 100% free. There's a link in the description. It's on School. It's called Streetwear 365. And inside, there's also a free streetwear marketing course. So look, I'm really excited to see you on the inside. That is all for today's podcast, and I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Have a great day, and bye-bye now.